If you know something about photography or filmmaking, there is no way you never heard of this lens. In this episode, we're talking about insanely famous Helios 44. I know there is so many things have been said about this lens, there are so many reviews out there, and I want to add my 2 cents to it. And not only discuss how great and cool this lens is, why so many people love it, I want to expand this topic. I want to talk about history of this lens, its features, how to choose the right model for you, as well as some common problems with this lens, and of course, share my personal experience of using Helios 44-2 58mm f2. My first introduction to this lens happened when I just started doing photography. Long story short, one day my friend and I were practicing photography and he took a picture of me using Helios 44. I was very surprised with its image quality and especially bokeh, but I was never really interested in this lens up until now. So where does this lens come from? Well, it was made in Soviet Union from 1950s to early 90s of 20th century, as internet says, but not many people know that this very lens is a copy or a knockoff of a phenomenal German lens, Carl Zeiss Biotar 58mm f2. When Soviet Union occupied Eastern Germany, they took Zeiss technologies and equipment and brought it back to Soviet Union, started copying and mass-producing German lenses. But lenses were not the only thing they copied and mass-produced, there were actually so many different ones. Good example to this is the Hasselblad camera, a copy of which in Soviet Union was called Kiev 88. As the name they choose, a Russified pronunciation of Ukrainian capital Kiev, because in Soviet Union all countries that were part of it were forced to speak Russian. And I'm guessing 88 stands for the year of production. But let's get back to Helios. The production started in 1950s and since then a lot of different modifications were made. And even though those lenses were cheap, they produce very impressive image, which is why they become very popular for Soviet photographers, and as we know now, they're popular all around the world. During the years of production, Helios lenses were made by many different factors, which of course affects the build quality as well as the image quality. Helios 44 has a lot of different models and it can be pretty confusing which one to choose. So when I decided to purchase one, I wanted to figure out those differences. So I went on YouTube and found a couple of extremely useful videos that clearly showed the differences in build as well as showing the image quality across the lenses. I'll put the link to those videos in the description. So the Helios I got was made by KMZ Factory. I'm no expert, but I think it's one of the best models. This specific lens was shipped to me from United Kingdom. I found it on eBay. The description said it's in perfect condition. The images confirmed it. There was so much details in the images, so I knew what I was buying. But while I was searching on eBay, I found a lot of listings having exactly the same pictures. So if you are planning to buy your Helios from eBay or any other vintage lens, make sure to first check the description and pictures for any damages or imperfections. Ask your seller any questions you have, and of course buy from the listings that show you exact images of the lens, as well as do your research first to know what you're buying. Let's talk about the features. This lens is compact. It has M42 mount, 49mm filter size, and aperture of f2, which is awesome. If you want to adapt this lens to your modern camera, all you need is an adapter. In my case, M42 to Fuji X mount. Also, if you want to use this lens with filters like ND or any other ones, use step-up rings. The focal length of this lens is 58mm on a full-frame sensor or around 90mm on a crop one, which is a case with Fujifilm camera. Being a very interesting lens, we have to remember it's old. And some of Helios lenses have imperfections and damages. The ones that I am aware of is the oil on aperture blades, stiff focus, and stock aperture. But if you want a newer version or cinema rehoused Helios, there is a brand from Ukraine called Ironclass. They're specialized in rehousing old Soviet lenses. They have budget versions as well as expensive cinema ones. I personally have not tried their product, but I would love to in the future. But if you're interested in that, make sure to check their website and reviews on YouTube for more information. In my personal experience in using this lens for a couple of weeks has been pretty fun. I really like the results I'm getting from this lens, and now I perfectly understand why it's so popular around the world and it's widely used in photography and videography. There is another feature of Helios lens I wanted to mention that I was not aware of, and that's like a second aperture control, which is right behind the actual aperture control and changes the exposure by rotation. It's pretty interesting. For me, this lens has been a great experience so far. Its 58mm focal length becomes around 90mm on a crop sensor, which is what I get on my Fujifilm X-H2S. It's amazing and great for portraits and close-ups, but at the same time is limiting. The problem is I don't know similar lenses to Helios that would match Helios characteristics to create a set of lenses like 35, 50, 85 or something like that. Just imagine how cool would it be. But if you do know these lenses, please let me know in the comments. Overall, I think this lens is a gem and it's worth investing. Just do your research first and don't buy blindly. And I'm sure you're gonna have fun with it. Well, it's all I have for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, make sure to press like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It's gonna be highly appreciated, as well as check out my short videos and connect with me on Instagram. I will see you on the next episode.